Hello, listeners. My name is Dylan Sanchez, and this is another episode of The Sports Corner. As you know by now, here on KTAI 91.1, I give updates on all sports across the country to listeners in South Texas. This week, we're going to talk the NBA and the NFL. Isaiah Thomas is going to the Charlotte Hornets. Dak Prescott is having off-season surgery, and we're going to talk MVP candidates for the NBA. This is this week's lineup for The Sports Corner. I believe we all can agree that it's safe to say that Isaiah Thomas has had a rough go in the NBA for a little while now. You know, the last time we saw Isaiah Thomas at his peak, it was in the 2016-17 season with the Boston Celtics, where he averaged a career-high 29 points a game and got an All-Star. Since then, Isaiah Thomas has been on 6 teams in the last 5 seasons: the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Denver Nuggets, the Washington Wizards, the New Orleans Pelicans, and then this season, he was signed on 10-day contracts by the Los Angeles Lakers for the second time in his career, and the Dallas Mavericks. But after playing 3 games in the G League with the Denver Nuggets affiliate team, the Grand Rapids Gold, the 33-year-old 5'9" point guard has another shot in the NBA. The Charlotte Hornets are signing Isaiah Thomas to a 10-day contract, which is the third of the year for the former All-Star, after capturing the attention of many teams in the 45-point performance he gave in his first game in the G League in late February. The Hornets currently sit at 30-33 and 10th in the Eastern Conference. As it stands now, Thomas is averaging 8.6 points per game in his short stints with the Mavericks and the Lakers. But given the minutes and opportunity, I fully believe that Thomas can be an asset to the scoring column at the very least. But the question is, will Thomas even stick around after his 10 days are up? But the one thing we all know about Isaiah Thomas is that he is always hard at work and loves the game of basketball. And at the very least, I think if he gives the performance that Michael Jordan and the city of Charlotte is expecting of him and the Hornets organization, then he should be given the opportunity to produce in what could be a playoff berth for this Hornets team. LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges are both averaging 20 points per game this season, and 6 of the Hornets are in double figures in points. But this team is also the 7th youngest team in the NBA currently, and I'm not saying that Isaiah Thomas is exactly a playoff veteran, and I'm not saying it's going to be an enormous difference, but the right amount of experience added to a team this young can go a long way if used appropriately. Unlike the Los Angeles Lakers, who have the oldest roster in basketball, adding a veteran of 33 years of age to a young squad who can still obviously score the basketball will be beneficial, assuming Thomas handles his business and Michael Jordan likes what he sees. But will this put the Hornets in favor to win a title? No, absolutely not. But improvement is improvement, and it's possible that Thomas can provide some late season improvement for this organization. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with my listeners here today. The Cowboys are not my favorite organization in the NFL. I will give credit when it's due to any football team, including the Cowboys, but the fact is, they're just not my favorite team. And sometimes it really makes my day to see the blunders of Jerry Jones and the Cowboys sometimes. But unfortunately for Dak Prescott, a quarterback that I do like, and for Cowboys fans, your $40 million man just had shoulder surgery on his non-throwing shoulder, an injury that the NFL had no clue about up to the point of a press release. It's not exactly the way you want to start off the offseason either. I pray he has a speedy recovery, because I would never wish harm on anyone, regardless of the circumstances, especially in the game of football, from experience. But as far as the fan base goes in the Cowboys organization, this could not be a worse start for you. Let's hope this isn't something that is foreshadowing on your season, because as it stands right now, 8 Cowboys players have now undergone surgeries in the offseason. Safety Donovan Wilson, wide receiver Michael Gallup, defensive end Chauncey Golston, defensive end Randy Gregory, tight end Blake Jarwin, safety Darren Thompson, and wide receiver Brandon Smith. But all are expected to make a full recovery. But the biggest issue with those injuries is when Michael Gallup will return, the third option for Dak Prescott in that offense. He's become an unrestricted free agent this month, and doctors told Gallup that he needs another 7 months to recover for his torn ACL, suffered toward the end of the season. But the big picture here is that you need your quarterback. You guys win your games in large part because of Dak Prescott, and it definitely wasn't the news I bet any fans were expecting to see. because this is Dak's third surgery in the past 2 years. And I'd also like to point out that the Cowboys really need every piece you guys can get, or once again, the headlines will be Cowboys out of the playoffs early, just like this year. Now, I'm just going to lay down some facts right here. The Cowboys beat these teams this season: the Los Angeles Chargers, the Philadelphia Eagles twice, the Carolina Panthers, the New York Giants twice, the New England Patriots, the Minnesota Vikings, the Atlanta Falcons, a Taysom Hill-led New Orleans Saints, and the Washington Commanders twice. Not to mention that the Cowboys play in the NFC East, the weakest division in all of professional football, but the number of teams that the Cowboys beat that were above 500 this season were 4. 4 games the Cowboys won against a team that was over 500, and only 2 of those teams being playoff teams. The Chargers, who did not make the playoffs, the Eagles, an overtime win against the Patriots, and a New Orleans Saints team who also did not make the playoffs. And the New Orleans Saints were constantly trying to find themselves a quarterback to play under center this entire year. Speaking of the playoffs, the Cowboys lost 6 games this season and went 3-5 overall against playoff teams this season. A season-opening loss to Tampa, a loss to Kansas City, losing at home to the Raiders and the Cardinals, and a quick playoff exit against the San Francisco 49ers. Oh, and by the way, you did lose to the Denver Broncos at home. The season may have ended with a great winning record, but this season was a disappointment when you think about all the pieces that you guys had all together. You had Dak Prescott still passing for over 4,400 yards. The team rushed for over 2,100 yards with the duo of Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. You had CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper relatively healthy for the whole season. And you had the young stars Trayvon Diggs and Defensive Rookie of the Year Micah Parsons putting your defense on the map this year, with both of them making Pro Bowls and being first-team All-Pro selections. But at the end of the day, you guys still lost to a Jimmy Garoppolo-led 49ers team in your first game in the playoffs. But it is still only March, and the season is more than 6 months away, so all is not really lost for you Cowboys fans out here in South Texas. The surgery that Dak had was performed on February 22nd, as confirmed by USA Today Sports. And Mike McCarthy assures the media and the public with his interview with USA Today Sports that it's not a concern and that Dak Prescott is doing well. Mike McCarthy said that he does not expect the procedure to limit Prescott in spring activities, but the shoulder did bother Prescott, including when he was sleeping, so he felt it was something that he needed to take care of. McCarthy also emphasized that the shoulder under operation was Prescott's left non-throwing shoulder. Now, personally, I wish Dak the best going through the offseason. I'm glad he got his money when he needed it, and to some extent, he has played up to his standard. But for the fans, I do feel kind of bad for you guys. You guys haven't been to the NFC Championship since 1996. I wasn't even born yet, and my parents were freshmen in college. It's been a long time for you guys going through quarterbacks like Quincy Carter, Chad Hutchinson, Vinny Testaverde. You had a season with Drew Bledsoe. A lot of years with Tony Romo, and not to mention John Kitna and Matt Castle. But now you guys have Dak. But the thing is, all of Texas is still waiting. And this is already a shaky start to the offseason. Now we're going to move on to the NBA MVP conversation. Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid. I feel like these are all the same names that pop up in the year's MVP race, and it's been that way for the past 3 years now. Currently, Jokic has led the Nuggets to a 36-25 record in the West and sit at 6th in the conference. Jokic leads in all categories for the Nuggets with 25 points on 56% shooting, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 1.5 steals, and 0.7 blocks. Giannis is leading the Bucks in the East to the 4th best record at 37-25 in the conference, while averaging nearly 30 points and 12 rebounds on the year. Joel Embiid, who now has James Harden on the court with him, is mirroring Giannis in all the stats and is leading the 76ers to the 3rd seed with a 37-23 record. But what's hot in the NBA now, and personally on my mind as well, are 2 more MVP candidates who have a legit chance to win the award and is just now getting the exposure that they deserve. This year is an MVP race that will go all the way down the wire until the last game of the season and the last day of voting amongst those who vote for the MVP. I can say that this is one of those years where the NBA just has no clear-cut frontrunner for the MVP. DeMar DeRozan, one of the two men I'm going to mention, has been a star for the Chicago Bulls this season paired with Zach LaVine. He is currently top 5 in the scoring category with a career-high 28 points a game, and he is also shooting above 50% from the field and has been shooting a career-high 35% from 3. And among all the MVP candidates, DeRozan is by far the veteran in this conversation, being in his 13th season in the NBA. The 5-time All-Star who spent most of his time in Toronto for 9 years and then 3 years with the Spurs has always been, in my mind, a top 15, top 20 player in the league since he was drafted in '09. But the most impressive thing about DeRozan and his career, he nearly has 20,000 points, and he's done most of his work from the mid-range area. This year, of course, he worked on knocking down more threes at a more efficient rate, but this whole year he's been attacking the rim, pulling up from mid-range jumpers, and being a leader on the team like he has always been for his whole career. Back in Toronto, back with the Spurs, he's always been a leader. And at age 32, averaging close to 30 points a game on a team with the 5th overall record in the NBA has sparked the curiosity of the media and the fans. And his play has taken some spotlight off the usual candidates, in my opinion. You remember the old MVP arguments. LeBron is 37 years old, and Kevin Durant is not getting any younger himself. These new guys are the new MVP candidates for the next 10, maybe 15 years. We're going to be seeing the same names, Jokic, Embiid, and Antetokounmpo. But it would be a crime to not include DeMar DeRozan in the discussion this year, just because he's not the media favorite, and it's great that his game is getting some recognition. But we definitely can't talk about the future of the MVP race and the MVP race this year and the competition of this league without the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant. A lot of people thought that this league will one day sooner and not later will belong to Zion Williamson, and for a time, I was right on board with him. He was selected number 1 overall in the 2019 draft, and the 6'6" power forward was expected to be the biggest star of the next era in the NBA. But with Zion dealing with his own issues in New Orleans, whether it be his health, team relations, the media, the Western Conference and the entire NBA better recognize the second pick of that draft, Ja Morant, and I believe he is the next big star in this NBA. Like the NFL and the quarterbacks finally having a new era, the future of the NBA is in the hands of Embiid, Giannis, Jokic, and young stars like Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, Trae Young, and who I believe will win the MVP this year, Ja Morant. Ja Morant has been explosive, electrifying, gravity-defying, a highlight reel, and extremely efficient for his team. He's scoring 27 points a game on nearly 50% shooting, grabbing 6 rebounds and dishing out 7 assists a game, and currently has his team 3rd in the Western Conference behind the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. Now I want to break this down for you right now. The Golden State Warriors have the greatest shooter of all time and 2-time MVP, Steph Curry. 5-time All-Star and top 5 shooter of all time, Klay Thompson. 4-time All-Star and former Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond Green. And current All-Star, Andrew Wiggins. The Phoenix Suns, they have the point guard, Chris Paul, the 12-time All-Star, who is still as efficient as ever. 3-time All-Star and scoring machine, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton, who is averaging 17 points and 10 rebounds a game. Between those two teams, 5 All-Stars came out this year for those teams and have combined for an overall 39 All-Star selections with the rosters combined. Do you know how many All-Stars the Grizzlies have this year and overall with the roster included? 1 Ja Morant. And he, along with company, have ascended the Grizzlies franchise to the 3rd seed in the Western Conference and the 4th best record in the NBA. Now, I want to make a quick comparison here. Now, stay with me on it, because trust me, it does make sense. Greg Oden came into the NBA in 2007 as the number 1 overall pick. Unfortunately for Oden, he suffered a microfracture in his right knee, missed the entire season. Next season, he would miss multiple weeks before eventually fracturing his patella in his left leg. He would then go on to have another microfracture in his left knee. The injuries just never stopped for Odin. And sometimes, the human body just does not work for you when you want it to. Odin was a 7-foot, 260-pound big man, although people say he was close to 290. And his career had nothing to do with work ethic or ill relations in an organization. It just wasn't meant to be for Odin in the end. But you do want to know something? You want to know about the second pick of that draft? That second pick would go on to become a 12-time All-Star, a 4-time scoring champion, an MVP, and a 2-time NBA champion. Oh yeah, he's also a member of the 75th anniversary team. That's a pretty good resume, I think. You want to know who that man's name is? Kevin Durant. Isaiah Thomas found himself another chance to bring life to his NBA career again with a shot with the Hornets, and we will watch if Michael Jordan approves, the greatest to ever do it. Hopefully, Dak Prescott is in no serious jeopardy to this offseason, like the Cowboys have said, because they need him to play like he's worth $40 million this year to get the Cowboys back on track. But for you Cowboys fans, I can't wait to watch the excuses you pull out for the next season. And as far as the MVP race goes, I'm advocating John Morant for MVP. The 22-year-old has what it takes to be an alpha in the league, but do not sleep on DeMar DeRozan. He is still in this race for himself, and there's no clear front runner whatsoever. Make all the picks you want. It can be anybody this year. My name is Dylan Sanchez, and this has been the Sports Corner. Tune in next week on Thursday at 11 a.m. here on KTAI 91.1.